Hey there, I'm Nick. I'm the Mystic Next Door, and welcome to the show. This is a self-love life, and today I'm talking about how to overcome low self-esteem and have healthy confidence. This is a really important topic. Excuse me. It's actually kind of a big topic, so it's going to take me a little bit to walk you through the steps here, probably 5 or 10 minutes. So I hope you'll hang in there every step of the way, because you can imagine that how if the same things started to change and nothing looked like it would ever change what it ever did, how different it would be, right? For us to be able to just open up and take the journey together. And that to me is really exciting. I'm so happy that you're here. So when we talk about low self-esteem, I wanted to start with a little story. When I was a young kid, one of my favorite things to do, some of the happiest memories of my childhood was going up north with my grandma and my sister and my cousins. And we'd spend a couple weeks up north, and it was beautiful. We had so much to do. It was so exciting. There were so many great things. And in the evenings, we would play cards. And then on rainy days when we couldn't go outside, we'd play a lot of cards. We'd play Michigan Rummy. We'd play Gin Rummy. We'd play Solitaire. We'd play Double Solitaire, like Euchre, right? Because it was Michigan. All those things. And throughout that, and we'd get bored with all that. And then what would we do? We start building card houses. And we build those triangle houses, and we build like the square houses, and we'd use like decks and decks of cards and try and like reinforce it and build up this whole thing. And then somebody would come running through, and the floor was a little shaky, and then everything would come crumbling down, no matter what we did, right? Or a big breeze would blow through the window, and phew, the whole thing goes down. And the reason that I'm telling you about this is because that is exactly how most people build their self-esteem. A house of cards. Now stick with me here, because if you think about it, the reason that it's a house of cards is because their self-esteem is entirely wrapped up in the outside world, the circumstances around them. It's based on the circumstances of their life. And what happens is we tend to identify with those circumstances, with those roles that we play. And then if there's one thing that is certain about our world, it's that it's going to change. It always changes. And so when that change happens and it shakes us at a deep level, it changes something or questions or goes against something about our identity, all of a sudden we're left in this really confused and doubtful place, wondering, who the heck am I? What business do I have even being here? I should be further along, right? Whatever the case is. So let's think about that. Here's a couple quick examples, right? Get fired from a job. You identify as like the good worker, or you're doing such a good job, you're working really hard, the company means a lot to you, you're really showing up, and then all of a sudden, that's gone. It's very natural for your esteem to take a hit around something like that. Or maybe it is, this is one that's come up a lot, is empty nesters. You've done such an awesome job raising your kids and done such a great job that they're out there doing great things and being independent, which is exactly what you raised them to be. And all of a sudden, your identity as a parent is really different. And it leaves you in that in-between, like, well, wait, like, who am I now? I spent all this time doing that. Like, what does that mean for me moving forward, right? Self-esteem starts to dip. Could be a divorce. That's something that I've worked with a lot of personal clients through, is all the way through a divorce or through separation, really challenging relationships. And when that relationship starts to dissolve, your identity of the person in that relationship, all of a sudden you're, in your 30s or your 40s or your 50s, and you're single. And married you seems to have just gone away. And who the heck am I now? Could be a business, right? That's another great example of when, you're really wrapped up in your business. You're doing the business, you're working the business, you're building the business, you're serving the people, you're doing all those things. And then all of a sudden something happens and cash flow gets really tight and things start to tank and it gets really, really sticky, really, really fast. And all of a sudden your identity is, your self-esteem and your confidence around that are hit. They take a really deep hit. because your identity is wrapped up in the outside world. And it shakes you to the core. And the problem with that is that most people do not realize that their identity is so deeply wrapped around these things until it's all crumbling down. And then we're right in the middle of it. Maybe you've been there before. I know I've been there before. It's a really tricky place to be. And it highlights this fundamental problem of the house of cards, right? Building that house of cards on a foundation with materials that are not meant to hold together, and being so vulnerable to the environment. That is what I mean by a house of cards. And that's what happens when your self-esteem is based on your circumstances, on your status, on your job, on your relationship, whatever the case may be, because your identity is all wrapped up in that. So, you might not realize, like, it feels really fragile, right? But I'm not talking necessarily about like toughness here, just toughen up, and soldier through. What I'm really talking about here is resilience. And the way that you build resilience, this is the most important part, right? Is that you do not base it on the external world. You take ownership of your esteem inside of yourself. That is the fundamental problem, and the source of 95% of our stressors is that we're bothered by what's going on in the world and not secure and stable enough inside of ourselves to sustain that. Okay, huge paradigm shift. I can't tell you how big that is. So take a moment, take a breath with that, right? Really let that land, and let your mind wander to those places where you've built your esteem and your value around other people, where it's based on what you do. Maybe you've heard that saying, we're not human doings, we're human beings. So I'm here to tell you right here, right now, that you are inherently valuable exactly as you are. You've probably heard that before, and your mind might have a little bit of a struggle really accepting that. And that's understandable, because our world is not set up in a way that supports self-worth. Our worth is based on what we contribute, what we do, what we produce in the world. And that's how we're valued, as far as what people pay you, right? For the jobs that you do, for the work that you do, whatever it is, the products that you produce. And to shift that paradigm and really take that ownership of worth into yourself, and to recognize that you are inherently whole and perfect exactly as you are. Nothing else needs to change in order for you to do that. Well, you tap into the most powerful part of yourself. That is your being. You're being exactly who you are, and being that more fully and more fully every single day, really letting that live out. When you bring that worth into you, all of a sudden you're having a very different conversation, and it becomes about how to feed and nurture yourself. This is one of the reasons that issues around self-esteem, people try to solve it just by taking better care. And let me tell you, self-care is a very important part of that. It's actually one of the 5 foundations of self-love. And there's 4 other foundations of self-love that are incredibly important as well. It's not just about self-care. It's about how we identify, and really choosing to see ourselves as whole and complete exactly as you are. You are valuable just by being a human being. So put your hand on your heart, take a nice deep breath, and really let that soak in for a second, because that's the paradigm shift of all shifts. And I mentioned before, taking the journey together, right? This whole thing is a journey to detach ourselves, to unhook our minds from the stories that we've been told about where our value comes from, and how we become valuable in the world through, whatever, the money that you earn, through the car that you drive, through the people that you're with, through the job that you have, through the whatever, right, that you've built, and really take it back into yourself. I cannot tell you how much more simple life becomes, and how much more clear every decision that you make becomes. And it really is about filling that yourself. always making sure that you're responsible for fueling yourself from the inside out. And then you will have, not only will you have a beautifully perfect self-esteem, you will also have an incredible amount of confidence and clarity to bring into everything that you do, which lets you bring in your superpowers, bring in what you do best, and not try and like do everything for everybody all at once and be everything to everybody all at once. You can just be you and really bring the best of you into every situation. And it's an amazing journey to be on. And every step of the way, it unfolds more and more for you, which is super exciting, right? Because there's things beyond getting over low self-esteem, getting over that self-critic that you can't even imagine from where you're at right now. There's a whole world of possibility beyond that. And that is what the journey of self-love is all about. That's one of the reasons that I love teaching about this and talking about it, because it's that powerful in your life. So down in the description, you'll see a video there. There's a, kind of a complimentary video, like 5 signs of low self-esteem. If you're not sure, most people are pretty sure when they're struggling with self-esteem. But if you want to know some hidden ways that shows up, because some of them are pretty sneaky, then that's a great complimentary video. And there's a few other things down there. My name's Nick. I'm the Mystic Next Door. I'm here to help you know yourself, heal yourself, and love yourself like never before. There's lots of ways that we can do that, but more than anything, I am just so happy that you're here to be part of the conversation. So comment below and let me know what's valuable for you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Peace.